Today I have been working on the stairs for both ends of the boat. So what I've done down here, the stairs in the end are going to have stainless piano hinges, so the steps will open and there will be storage. The bottom one will go right back under here, and the top one here. These are temporary steps for now because I don't want to beat up the final ones. They're going to be, I believe they're going to be maple, a natural finish, possibly some kind of an oil rather than varnish. So for now I've just got some old scrap veneer stuff here that I'm going to use so I can not worry about getting paint on them or just scratching them or whatever. So this upper one will have a hinged lid as well, but I'll put a floor in it at roughly the same height as this step. So it'll be a box this big, and then the bottom one, things can go back in under. So, I don't know, shoes, things like that. And then the top step is not going to be hinged. There's going to be this basically partition that divides from under the front deck to the cabin. And ahead of it down there is going to be the one lithium iron phosphate battery. And above it, screwed to the back side of this panel, will be the, what am I putting there? I think it's the inverter I'm putting. Yeah, the inverter I'm putting there. The power distribution center here, and on the inside back in there, over here will be the DC to DC charger to charge from the engine up to the house batteries. And the other house battery goes under here lengthwise, this one crossways, and the terminals will be close to each other, and I can put a bus bar there. The bow thruster is also right down here, so it's very close to the batteries. I'm going to run it off the house batteries. Some suggest you should use a dedicated battery for it, but one more battery, how to keep it charged. I decided to go extra big on the house batteries, and hopefully I will be able to use the bow thruster when needed. I've never had a bow thruster in my life. I've docked boats thousands of times, locked thousands of times. I'm sure I'm into the thousands for lockages too. And I've never had a bow thruster. I know there's going to be times it'll be nice. That's why I'm putting one in. Maybe having one, I'll use it more than I think I will, but I think I will continue to dock like I always have and just save it for when the wind starts to swing the nose, or I didn't get it quite right and a little nudge and just bring it in. I don't plan to, dock with the bow thruster. I just plan to have it as a backup. Who knows? Once I have one in real life, I might actually find that I use it more than I intend to. Hello. Well, I got the stairs at the front of the boat installed, fastened up till still have to build in the top step. That'll be some other time. And now I'm getting into the dinette over here. Let me show you what I'm up to. So the dinette goes back in the port corner, port aft area of the boat. And I'm building up the floor a couple inches. Couple reasons. One is just to have you sit a little higher. Now 2 inches isn't hardly worth talking about. The other reason, which is possibly the biggest reason, is the flooring I'm using. It's going to be that composite vinyl tile, the click laminate flooring, or not laminate, but composite CVT. And they warn you it needs to be in a, temperature controlled, climate controlled place that, and I know from my own experience, when it gets cold it shrinks, and the bigger the area, the bigger a deal that is. So by raising the floor up for the dinette, that'll be a break in the floor at that point, where it'll be a separate floor under the dinette. And the rest of this, I'm going to be extremely careful on the rest of it not to pin it down anywhere. It's going to have quarter round everywhere, so it's free to expand and contract with temperature change, because this boat will not be climate controlled. It'll spend its winters freezing. And so that's also up here where the helm is. I raised that floor so I wouldn't have to have it curled up over in that far corner, because the hull starts to rise there. There's nothing but plywood right at the corner. But also, it's another break, and it's also when I have the pedestal for the helm seat bolted down to the floor or screwed down to the floor, that flooring won't be free to move, but it's a separate piece of flooring from the rest of it. So that takes care of that problem. And the same in the bathroom where the toilet is. It's going to be on a raised up area because of the plumbing, so it won't be bolted down to the floor either. So anyway, yeah, so I'm building the floor up, so I'm going to get into putting down the members that'll support the plywood, and then I'll put plywood down, and that's the start of the dinette. Alright, so I'm going to get into installing these floor kind of want to call them joists, but that's a bit of an exaggeration. They're essentially 2x2s, but they'll be supported by the stringers, and it's not exactly a high traffic area under the table anyway. Oh, I guess I put construction adhesive under the end that goes down against the fiberglass, but I also need to put glue in the other spots. So as usual, ton of things to think about. One is I'm screwing down into the floor, and it's right above the holding tank, so I'm going into the floor plywood, but I can't go through the 1/2-inch plywood or I risk popping a hole in the holding tank, and nobody wants that. So, yep, these are perfect length of screw for there. Perfect. And I'm gonna, so what I've done here also, can't really see it on this one, but I've put plywood underneath the 2x2, which is actually a 1 5/8 by 1 1/2. But I've put plywood under it, hanging into the area that's under the dinette seat, because that'll be a storage area. I didn't want to put a full 1/2-inch thick plywood floor in here for two reasons. One is the weight. The other is this will be an area that I could access either just to inspect or for whatever reason I'd ever want to get in here. So I'm going to just put 1/4-inch plywood in the floor of this area so we can fill it up with whatever. But in the event that I ever want to see what's going on under here or pass a wire through or whatever, I can lift that floor out. So it gives it accessibility and less weight than a 1/2-inch plywood floor. So that's the plan. Where do I leave my screws? There, that's one done, 2 more to go. I don't think everyone needs to see all that. There's the framework for the floor under the dinette. So I've got this ready. I put little fillers across the end here. So now I'm ready to cut a piece of plywood and put a floor down. I've got the floor framework finished and the piece of plywood ready to put down. Now I've attached a strip of grounds for the wall on top of it, and that'll stiffen this edge of the plywood. I didn't put, there's really no easy way to put blocking or whatever under the floor over there because I'm on the hull and I don't want to put screws into the fiberglass. So I put this on top, that'll stiffen this, and then once the wall is attached to it, that'll stiffen it some more. So now I'm ready to put some glue down on my framework and screw this down. All right, and some screws. I had this screwed down before so I could figure out where that grounds for the wall went, so at this point I'll just have to hit the old holes. There's the floor for the dinette. You might think my next step will be to start building the seats for the dinette, but that's not the case. What I'm still working towards, as I was a few days ago, is to where I can get some plumbing run around this place. So I decided that this floor had to go in because the hot and cold to go to the bathroom are going to run through right up here, and I figured it would be a whole lot easier to put the floor in before I have plumbing pipes there rather than after. So I've still got a few more things to do, but I'm getting really close to where I can run some plumbing in this boat.